ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନ ଚନ୍ଦ୍ର ଛଇଳ କହ୍ନାଇ ମୋର ନାହିଁ କି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ଖୁଆଇବି ଲବଣୀ ସର ମନ୍ଥି ନୀତି ପରାଣ ମୋର ଖୁଆଇବି ଲବଣୀ ସର ମନ୍ଥି ନୀତି ପରାଣ ମୋର ଖୁଆଇବି ଲବଣୀ ସର ମନ୍ଥି ନୀତି ପରାଣ ମୋର ଶ୍ୟାମଳା ଅମଳା ମତି ମୋର ନୀତି ଶ୍ୟାମଳା ଅମଳା ମତି ମୋର ନୀତି ତା ମୁରଲି ସୁରେ ଜୀବ ଧାଇଁକି ତା ମୁରଲି ସୁରେ ଜୀବ ଧାଇଁକି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ସେ ମୋହନ ମୁରଲି ତାନ ଶୁଣୁ ଶୁଣୁ ହଜିବ ଜ୍ଞାନ ସେ ମୋହନ ମୁରଲି ତାନ ଶୁଣୁ ଶୁଣୁ ହଜିବ ଜ୍ଞାନ ପ୍ରେମ କୁଞ୍ଜ ବନେ ଯମୁନା ପୁଲିନେ ପ୍ରେମ କୁଞ୍ଜ ବନେ ଯମୁନା କୁଲିନେ ହେରିବି ନାଗର ତୁଲେ ରାଇକି ହେରିବି ନାଗର ତୁଲେ ରାଇକି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ହୃଦ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନ ଚନ୍ଦ୍ର ହୃଦ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନ ଚନ୍ଦ୍ର ଛଇଳ କହ୍ନାଇ ମୋର ନାହିଁ କି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ଯୁଗଳ ସେ ମଧୁ ମିଳନ ବେନି ମନ ପ୍ରେମେ ମଗନ ଯୁଗଳ ସେ ମଧୁ ମିଳନ ବେନି ମନ ପ୍ରେମେ ମଗନ ମଧୁର ମୂରତି ହେରି ମୋର ମତି ମଧୁର ମୂରତି ହେରି ମୋର ମତି ଫୁଲ କରେ ପୁରୀ ହେବ ବାଇକି ଫୁଲ କରେ ପୁରୀ ହେବ ବାଇକି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ହୃଦ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନ ଚନ୍ଦ୍ର ଛଇଳ କହ୍ନାଇ ମୋର ନାହିଁ କି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ଘନ ନୀଳ କମଳ କୋଳେ ହେମ କମଳିନୀଟି ଦୋଳେ ଘନ ନୀଳ କମଳ କୋଳେ ହେମ କମଳିନୀଟି ଦୋଳେ ଆନନ୍ଦେ ମଗନ ହେବ ସତେ ମନ ଆନନ୍ଦେ ମଗନ ହେବ ସତେ ମନ ଅପରୂପ ରୂପ ଠାଣି ଚାହିଁକି ଅପରୂପ ରୂପ ଠାଣି ଚାହିଁକି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ଯିବି କାହିଁକି ହୃଦ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନ ଚନ୍ଦ୍ର ହୃଦ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନେ ବୃନ୍ଦାବନ ଚନ୍ଦ୍ର শৈল কন্হাই মোর নাহি কি, শৈল কন্হাই মোর নাহি কি, বৃন্দাবনে জীবি কাহিকি, বৃন্দাবনে জীবি কাহিকি, বৃন্দাবনে জীবি কাহিকি। জয় গুরু।
জয় গুরু, জয় গুরু, জয় গুরু। নটবর বেশি আশা, রসিক শেখরা। নটবর বেশি আশা, রসিক শেখরা। নিরূপমা রূপ সতে, কেড়ে মনোহরা। নিরূপমা রূপ সতে, কেড়ে মনোহরা। নটবর বেশে আশা, রসিক শেখরা। নটবর বেশে আশা, রসিক শেখরা। ভকতি যমুনা কূলে, পিরতি কদম্ব মূলে। ভকতি যমুনা কূলে, পিরতি কদম্ব মূলে। চিত্তবৃত্তি সখা গণ তুলে, চিত্তবৃত্তি সখা গণ তুলে। বজাও মুরলীধর, নিঃশ্বাসে পবনে মোরা। বজাও মুরলীধর, নিঃশ্বাসে পবনে মোরা। বিবেক বংশী মধুসূরে, বিবেক বংশী মধুসূরে। চিদানন্দে তনু মনা, হেউ হে বিভোরা। চিদানন্দে তনু মনা, হেউ হে বিভোরা। নটবর বেশি আশা, রসিক শেখরা। নটবর বেশি আশা, রসিক শেখরা। তুমি করুণা সাগর, রস রসিক নাগর। তুমি করুণা সাগর, রস রসিক নাগর। হৃদয় রাধিকা সঙ্গে রাশি, হৃদয় রাধিকা সঙ্গে রাশি। ইমো মন বৃন্দাবনায় বিহর আনন্দ মনে। ইমো মন বৃন্দাবনে বিহর আনন্দ মনে। নগণী দিবস বা নিশি, নগণী দিবস বা নিশি, সঙ্গে ঘেনি যেতেছন্তি ভকত গোপাল। সঙ্গে ঘেনি যেতেছন্তি ভকত গোপাল। নটবর বেশি আশা রসিক শেখর। নটবর বেশে আশা রসিক শেখর। প্রেমর বরজ ধূলি নামর সে গোলি ধরি। প্রেমর বরজ ধূলি নামর সে গোলি ধরি। হরি খেলে মজাই ভুবন, হরি খেলে মজাই ভুবন। হরি খেলে মজাই ভুবন। তুম গীত গাই গাই নাচিবি মু হই বাই। তুম গীত গাই গাই নাচিবি মু হই বাই। অনুসরি গুরু মহাজন, অনুসরি গুরু মহাজন, অনুসরি গুরু মহাজন। জীবনরে আনো বাঞ্ছা নাহি এ মনর। জীবনরে আনো বাঞ্ছা নাহি মে মনর। নটবর বেশে আশা রসিক শেখর। নটবর বেশে আশা রসিক শেখর। নিরূপম রূপ সতে কেড়ে মনোহর। নিরূপম রূপ সতে কেড়ে মনোহর। নটবর বেশে আশা নাম চল পূজবর গুণহীনাম সে সগুণাধিপতি। ভবভীরু জানে সত तमरदं प्रणमामि गुरु शिव कल्पतरुं प्रणमामि गुरुं शिव कल्पतरुम्। रूप तारा की मनोहरा, रूप तारा की मनोहरा, कीड़ी रुचिरा रूप तारा की मनोहरा, नामारा नाही तुलना, नामारा नाही तुलना, मधुर ठारू मधुर रूप तारा की मनोहरा, पीड़ी रुचिरा रूप तारा की मनोहरा, आँखी मोदी ले अंतरी जगा रानी चोठरी, आँखी मोदी ले अंतरी जगा रानी चोठरी, जिणी चाहिए देखी भी, जिणी चाहिए देखी भी, कमठाणी मंजुला, जिणी चाहिए देखी भी, कमठाणी मंजुला, रूप तारा की मनोहरा, कीड़ी रुचिरा रूप तारा की मनोहरा, पाखीरा मृद को जाने भ्रमरा गुंजराणी, पाखीरा मृद को जाने भ्रमरा गुंजराणी, पिंडे ब्रह्मांडे सुने भी, पिंडे ब्रह्मांडे सुने भी, ताना मारा झंकारा, ताना मारा झंकारा, रूप तारा की मनोहरा, कीड़ी रुचिरा रूप तारा की मनोहरा, कीड़ी रुचिरा रूप तारा की मनोहरा, सती मो सबेंतीबा नमो रूप सरहे नामागाई रूपाध्यायी हे मोही पागल हे मोही पागल रूपधारा की मना हरा किड़ी रुचिरा रूपधारा की मना हरा किड़ी रुचिरा रूपधारा की मना हरा नामारा नाही तोळायला नामारा नाही तोळायला मधुर ठारू मधुर मधुर ठारू मधुर रूपा तारा की मन हरा किड़ी रुचिरा रूपा तारा की मन हरा किड़ी रुचिरा रूपा तारा की मन हरा.
Jayaguru, Sadguru Swami Nidhananda Upadesamrita, page 132, the basics of sadhana. Our country is a land of love. What our nation easily accomplishes through love can hardly be achieved through another sadhana. Everybody of this country is born from the element of love. Prema pervades everywhere, the soil, the water, the air, and the sky of this country. Prema is the means and prema is the end of sadhana. So the incarnation of knowledge and incarnation of karma were born in different parts of this country, but the incarnation of love, Sri Gauranga Deva, was born in this land. This love can be attained on the unified path of karma, jnana, bhakti, action, knowledge, devotion. My path is same as the path of unification of these three. To work for Gurudev without any desire for result is the sadhana of this land. Jat karosi, jadasnasi, jajuhosi, dadasi jat, jata pasyasi konteya, tat kuruswa madarpana. Gita 9:27. This is also my advice. Walking on this path, you can realize how knowledge and devotion are followed through the path of surrender, of action. The matured state of jnana bhakti is prema. The motion of life is full of polarities, joys and sorrows are its constant companions. Lust and anger are natural instincts of jiva. One has to endeavor as far as possible to bring control over these instincts. One should not be afraid of these institutes. It necessitates nothing more but total commitment to truth. It is truth which makes man a lion. A man committed to truth can never be weak. So whatever you understand as truth, always express it candidly and fearlessly. Everybody has freedom to speak truth. If you are completely devoted to truth, you will find that you have one day reached the ultimate goal. Yes, human beings, incarnation is a man. Sadguru is also a man. Your Guru is not an incarnation. He is Sadguru. I am a man like you. Only by sadhana I have attained this state through the process of gradual development. You will also reach this state one day in gradual process due to commitment to truth. But it won't do if you resort to cheating in the right place. Even at the cost of life, one should remain firm and steadfast on truth. If one cannot die for truth, it will not show him the real path. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Nilachal Saraswat Sangha Puri, America Saraswat Sangha. 997th Sangha Puja Session Report. Date 3/8/2021. 2026, Sunday. Time 7:15 a.m. to 11:55 a.m. Eastern Time. Paria, Sarlok, Bijubhai and Kishorabhai. Adhibasa Puja. March 7, 2026. Adhibasa Puja was held at Nigama Sriti Mandira on Saturday, 7th March, prior evening of Sangha Puja, with Srotavandana, Sangha Sevaka 18th year, third part, Mahaprabhu Prasanga, followed by Vidaya Prarthana, Jayaguru Namakirtana, and closing of the curtain. Attendance. The link to the attendance sheet is available in AMSAS website. Morning session 7:15 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. The morning session of the puja started at 7:15 a.m. with Pratiksha song. Uditama sang Kahara Adara Bola Dako Subilare and nearby sang Aruna Rathare Vijay Karahe and Anandamaya Nigamananda Jaya. During that time, all devotees joined the puja at Nigama Sriti Mandira or over teleconference. Sanjit Bhai offered Arati to Shree Shree Thakur Maharaj. Smita Rai Ma led Vandana, Vandai Guru Charane and Sotra Vandana. After Sotra Vandana, Sandeep Bhai read Shree Shree Thakur Guru Gita, verse 57. Vishad Bhai led the Parichaya Patra Patha, followed by Samilani and Adhibasa Nirmana Prarthana. Sanjit Bhai read Sangha Sevaka 48th year, 4th part, Vandana, Prarthana and Prarthana Karika Prati. Vijay invited Shree Shree Thakur Maharaj for Bhoga Nivedana and to attend the second session. The first session was concluded with Jayaguru Namakirtana. Balya Bhoga was offered to Shree Shree Thakur Maharaj. All bhaktas were served with prasad. Second session 9:45 a.m. to 11:55 a.m. The second session of the puja was started at 9:45 a.m. with Pratiksha by Shivani Emma and Mano Moro Chahe and Devasis Bhai sang Antara Devata Asahe. Asana was opened with Pranam. Nirpitama sang the Vandana Kiye Prabhu Pone Hebo Tumo Sari. Prithviraj Bhai read Nigama Upadesha, page 129 to 132, daily spiritual practice. Pallavi read last Sangha Puja's report. Gurdas Bhai read the Nilachala Thakur Nigamananda from page 282 to 289, and Vedanti Ma summarized the reading in English.
Jayaguru, सुभाषिष भाई की स्वप्न भाई की म्यूट कर दी पारिबे की?
भाई म्यूटेड
अच्छा जयगुरु, थैंक यू.
Vrindan Bhai sang Prarthana Sangita Hori Kharanti Ranga Kanhai Go. Ajit Bhai read Jogi Guru, page 116 to 120. YSS started with Anik sang Prarthana Sangita. Satima conducted YSS. After YSS ended, Sarlok, Kishore Bhai and Vijay Bhai did Bhava Vinimaya Seva. Then Vijay Bhai invited Shree Shree Thakur for Madhyana Bhoga and evening puja. Sarthak and Ishwara Bhai invited Shree Shree Thakur to next Sangha Puja to be held on 15th March 2026. Ishwara Bhai prayed for the forgiveness from Shree Shree Thakur on behalf of all Sevaka Sevika for any mistake committed with Seva. The second session concluded with Vidaya Prarthana sang by Smita Bhai Ma. Asana was closed with Jayaguru Namakirtana and Pranam. Vishad Bhai took the attendance for Bhai Ma's. Madhyana Bhoga was offered to Shree Shree Thakur, followed by Prasad Savana by all Bhai Ma's and young aspirant. Shree Shree Thakur Charanastha, Salab Vijay Bhai and Kishore Bhai. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. So we'll start reading the English translation of Shree Shree Thakur Nigamananda Leela Prasanga Part 1, and we'll start from the preface. Salutations to the Paramhansa, who is the embodiment of Sri Nigamananda. Salutations to the Guru, the bestower of liberation, who awakens the knowledge of the ultimate reality. By the boundless grace of Shree Shree Thakur Maharaj, his nectar-like divine play has been published in book form by the Sangha under the title Shree Shree Thakur Nigamananda Leela Prasanga. As it has been successfully offered into the lotus hands of the devotees and readers, we express our humble and devoted prostrations at the lotus feet of the Compassionate One. To manifest his divine play, the Supreme Lord incarnates from age after age. Two purposes are observed for this divine play. One purpose is to enable his devotees to relish the spiritual essence, which is rasa, and the other is to relish it himself. Through hearing, reflecting upon and meditating on the stories of his divine play, the devotee's mind becomes easily directed towards God, something that cannot be achieved even through hundreds of spiritual practices and worship. At the root of hearing his divine play lies a mind filled with love for the Supreme Lord. The more happiness one derives from the Lord, the more flavorful and sweet the tasting of the Lord's divine stories becomes for them. Those who are not affectionate towards the topics of the Supreme Lord, to them the stories of the divine play appear as dry tales. The Supreme Lord has stated that in the Bhagavad Gita. With their minds fixed on me, with their lives surrendered to me, enlightening one another and constantly speaking of me, they find satisfaction and delight. Even though the Supreme Lord possesses unparalleled beauty, he cannot taste it himself. When his form is reflected in the clear mirror of his devotees' hearts, he becomes delighted upon seeing it. In this regard, the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita has expressed this through the mouth of Lord Sri Krishna. If I see my own sweetness in the mirror, I feel the greed to taste it, but I cannot. When I ponder over the means to taste it, my mind then runs to assume the form of Radhika. The divine play of the Supreme Lord is divided into three parts. These are Sansara Lila, the play of the world, Srishti Lila, the play of creation, and Nitya Lila, the eternal play. God is the embodiment of truth, consciousness, and bliss, and Nitya Lila takes place within the aspect of bliss. Human society did not know the nature of this Lila before the advent of Lord Krishna. At the twilight of the Dwapara Yuga, the Supreme Lord enacted this eternal play in Bhu Vrindavan, the earthly Vrindavan. Without an understanding of the principles and facts regarding the Supreme Lord, his Leela cannot be comprehended. When he descends to the mortal realm to perform this Leela, he also brings his Leela companions along with him. Otherwise, the Leela cannot be enacted smoothly. Generally, human beings desire to attain God in human form. Therefore, the Supreme Lord performs his Leela in human form. The Supreme Lord, the condensed embodiment of truth, consciousness, and bliss, is performing the Nitya Leela, which is eternal play, in the eternal realm of Bhavaloka, that is the realm of divine emotions, along with his own Hladini Shakti, which is bliss-giving potency. The eternal activities of the eternal abode are called Nitya Leela. There, the emotions of servitorship, which is Dasya, friendship, which is Sakhya, parental affection, which is Vatsalya, and conjugal love, which is Madhura, are manifested in personified forms. This Nitya Leela through which rasa, which is divine essence, and the worthiness to relish it are attended is called Rasa Lila. The Supreme Lord performs all these leelas to attract loving devotees and to fulfill the desires of perfected loving devotees. From this realm of divine emotions, drops of Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhura Rasa trickle down to the mortal realm. Thus, a thirst for this divine essence awakens within the souls of living beings. To manifest the sweet essence of Nitya Lila and to teach the means of attaining it, the Supreme Lord performed the Vraja Lila in the incarnate form of Sri Krishna. In this regard, the Bhagavata states, Anugrahya Bhaktanam Manusim Dehamasturita Vajate Tadrisi Kridaya Sutva Tatparo Bhaveta. That is, out of grace towards his devotees, he assumes of human form and engages in such pastimes. He who hears of these becomes wholly devoted to him. That is to show grace to his devotees. The Supreme Lord, taking shelter of the human body, performs such pastimes so that by hearing them, devotees would become fully devoted to him in love. The manifestation of an interconnected awareness between the object, which is Vishaya, and the subject, which is Vishayi, is called Lila. The sheltering principle is called the subject, and the sheltered principle is called the object. Within the sheltering principle, the Supreme Lord is the subject, and within the sheltered principle, his devotees are called the object. Subject being the Vishayi and object is the Vishaya. The object of the devotees are the strengths of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they are non-different from him. Since the beginning of creation, the principle of the Guru and the principle of the divine, that is Bhagavat Tattva, have been at play in this world. The Guru and God are indistinguishable form of one another. Therefore, it is stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, according to the evidence of the scriptures, the Guru is the manifestation of Krishna. It is Krishna who bestows his mercy upon the devotees in the form of the Guru. When considered from the perspective of divine opulence, the Guru and God are one, but from the perspective of compassion, the Guru is greater. Brahma was initially attributeless, which is Nirguna. He desired to perform his divine play, that is Leela, but a divine play cannot happen alone. By his mere will, the divine mother emerged from Brahma. This mother is called Saguna Brahma, or God with attributes. From this mother, one male and one female originated. Later, the world of living beings was created from this male and female. The mother saw that she had everything except her husband. For this reason, the mother performed penance. Pleased by her penance, the Nirguna Brahma manifested in a male form. At the junction of the attributeless, which is Nirguna, and the manifest, which is Saguna, on a transcendental plane, he took the mother and created the universe. This is known as Nitya Loka or Bhava Loka. This very male entity is the Guru. The divine play of the Lord and the divine play of the devotee are inextricably linked. A devotee has no existence without the Lord. Furthermore, without the devotees, the Lord has no existence. Highlighting this very fact, the Lord has said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sadavo Hridayam Mayam Sadunam Hridayam Tavam Madhyanta Te Na Jananti Naham Tebo Managabi. This means the saintly persons are my heart, and I too am the heart of the saintly persons. They know nothing else but me, and I too know nothing else but them. The Guru is the God of the disciples and the devotees. He is the Guru externally and God internally. All the divine plays of the Guru unfold as the divine play of the Lord to his disciple devotees. Those who have found the essence of God within the Guru and have taken his refuge, their relationship is eternal. Through the guise of his divine play, the Guru guides the disciple devotees toward the path of liberation. Different Gurus enact various forms of divine plays with their respective disciple devotees. Even the anger he expresses towards his disciple devotees is a part of his divine play. Whether he blesses them or chastises them, it is all intended for the spiritual upliftment of the disciple devotees. What kind of divine plays our revered Parivra Charya Paramahansa Srimad Swami Nigamananda Saraswati Deva enacted with his disciples and devotees while he was present in his physical body, no one has been able to reveal to this day. After the disappearance of his physical body, the subtle play he manifests by dwelling in the hearts of every devotee are full of supernatural wonders. If anyone constantly just remembers this gross and subtle divine plays of his, they will not need to perform any other spiritual practices or worship. Here, gross and subtle are the Sola and Sukma. In this volume of the book, the story of Shree Shree Thakur's previous birth, his brief biography, childhood life, worldly life, and some stories of his divine plays during his spiritual life, along with some subject of his divine plays in worldly life with Mother Thakurani Sudhansubala and Shree Shree Thakur's divine plays at the Garo Hills Yogashram has been provided. Shree Shree Thakur's adopted daughter, the late Narayani Devi or Lilama, had stated writing the story of Shree Shree Thakur's divine plays in highly touching and impeccable language in the twilight of her life, and had described up to the preparatory phase of Shree Shree Thakur's visit to the Durgapur ashram. Because she prematurely attended eternal rest at the holy feet of Shree Shree Thakur, she could not complete the story of the divine plays. However, we have published the incomplete story of her divine plays in this book. The book has been enriched with an appendix containing many other stories of Shree Shree Thakur's divine plays. Apart from this, along with the introduction of the authors and authoresses of his book, details about some of them have been provided. In this, some informative subjects regarding Shree Shree Thakur's first book of his realized life, Yogi Guru, some facts and details about Shree Shree Thakur's first initiated disciple, Sri Yogeshwar Vishwas, and then head of Sringeri Matha, who played a major role in Shree Shree Thakur attaining the title of Paramahansa, have also been provided. A few sacred portraits of Shree Shree Thakur's early realized life have also been found a place in this, and we consider our labor successfully with devotees and readers are benefited by reading this book with reverence. Shree Shree Nigamananda Smriti Mandira, Kendra Asana Mandira, Swargadwara, Puri, 0108-2001. Julana Purnima, sheltered at feet of Shree Shree Thakur, Shama Sundar Das, President and Manager, Nilachala Saraswata Sangha, Puri. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Sakala bandhana tutai deicha, fitai deicha nayana. Sakala bandhana tutai deicha, fitai deicha nayana. Kemiti kahibi dei naha kichi, kemiti kahibi dei naha kichi, pai nahi boli sarana, fitai deicha nayana. Sakala bandhana tutai deicha, ফিটাই দেইছ নয়ন, ফিটাই দেইছ নয়ন। বুঝি নথিলি যা দেইছ বুঝাই, বুঝি নথিলি যা দেইছ বুঝাই। মর পরম প্রেমরে মরম ভিজাই, পরম প্রেমরে মরম ভিজাই। শিখাই দেইছ ভজিବାକୁ নাম, শিখাই দেইছ ভজিବାକୁ নাম, শিখাই দেইছ ভজিବାକୁ নাম, শিখাই দেইছ ଭଜିବାକୁ ନାମ। ଖୋଜିବାକୁ ନୂଆ ଜୀବନ, ଖୋଜିବାକୁ ନୂଆ ଜୀବନ। ଫିଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ ନୟନ, ସକଳ ବନ୍ଧନ ତୁଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ, ଫିଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ ନୟନ। ମୋର ହୃଦୟରେ ଅମର ଚେତନା, ମୋର ହୃଦୟରେ ଅମର ଚେତନା। ଏଇ ପରା ପ୍ରଭୁ ତୁମରି ରଚନା, ଏଇ ପରା ପ୍ରଭୁ ତୁମରି ରଚନା। ମଳିନ ମନକୁ ବତାଇ ଦେଇଛ, ମଳିନ ମନକୁ ବତାଇ ଦେଇଛ, ମଳିନ ମନକୁ ବତାଇ ଦେଇଛ। ଅମୃତ ଦେଶର ସନ୍ଧାନ ଫିଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ ନୟନ, ସକଳ ବନ୍ଧନ ତୁଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ, ଫିଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ ନୟନ। ଅନ୍ଧ ଜୀବନର ବନ୍ଧୁର ପଥରେ, ଅନ୍ଧ ଜୀବନର ବନ୍ଧୁର ପଥରେ। ସାଥୀ ତୁମେ ମୋର ଅନ୍ଧାର ରାତିରେ, ସାଥୀ ତୁମେ ମୋର ଅନ୍ଧାର ରାତିରେ। ଏ ସାରା ଜଗତେ କିଏ ହେବ ସତେ, ଏ ସାରା ଜଗତେ କିଏ ହେବ ସତେ, ଏ ସାରା ଜଗତେ କିଏ ହେବ ସତେ। ବନ୍ଧୁପଣେ ତୁମ ସମାନ ଫିଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ ନୟନ, ଫିଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ ନୟନ। ସକଳ ବନ୍ଧନ tutai deicha, hitai deicha nayana. Kshudra phulatiye sedina sakale, kshudra phulatiye sedina sakale, ফুটিছিলি কেউ বন বিথি তଳେ, ফুটিছিলি কেউ বন বিথি তଳେ, খোজি আনি স্থান ଦେଇଛ ଚରଣେ, ଖୋଜି ଆଣି ସ୍ଥାନ ଦେଇଛ ଚରଣେ, ଖୋଜି ଆଣି ସ୍ଥାନ ଦେଇଛ ଚରଣେ, କରିଛ ପରାଣ ନନ୍ଦନ, ଫିଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ ନୟନ, ଫିଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ ନୟନ, ସକଳ ବନ୍ଧନ ତୁଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ, ଫିଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ ନୟନ, ଫିଟାଇ ଦେଇଛ নয়ন।
Jayaguru, we will continue Sadhana Kalpa from Yogi Guru, page number 180 from the last session. Those who have become Urdhvavarita by making the mind quite firm through such tattva vichara are indeed gods in human form. Brahmacharya, that is, to preserve vital energy, is better than all other tapasya. He who has become Urdhvavarita by attaining siddhi in this tapasya is really a god in human form. He who is a Urdhvavarita has command over death at his own will. Bravery is under his control. He attains unique joy due to upward movement of semen. Without preservation of semen, the yogic sadhana is merely a futile endeavor. Therefore, the practitioners of yoga should preserve semen with all care. Yogis attain siddhi by preserving semen carefully. The preservation of semen endures tremendous enhancement of mental power. Ekagrata sadhana, the practice of concentration of mind, becomes easy by dint of this tremendous power. Those who are married cannot all along become Urdhvavarita because it is a sin not to maintain the menstrual cycle. Therefore, a sadhaka on the path of yoga will unite with his wife once in a month with controlled mind in order to have a child and maintain the balance of creation of God by ensuring the next offspring of family. If one engages himself in anyone's sadhana in the aforesaid manner by regulating mind quite well, he will quickly achieve success. Otherwise, simply by closing eyes, if one meditates on God with his heart filled with attachment for worldly materials, he will not visualize anything else but darkness. To acquire Brahma Jnana is not that easy. One can think of God at any place, wherever it may be. But Brahma Jnana is different matter. Tyaga is only its chief component. Brahmanic thought is futile in the absence of sadhana of Tyaga. If one is not emptied of attachment by performing Tattva Vichara in the aforesaid manner, nothing will be achieved simply by fashioning hair and attire or wandering country by country. If one dips in the ocean of bhava instead of waters of worldly attachment, everything is crowned with success. But even by living with wife, children, and material richness in the household life, if one leads a life of purity and integrity, the result thereof will also be pure. Then one will not have to travel from one pilgrimage to the other, join a group of sannyasis, or put on the Hippocratic robe. As a result, one need not smear the body with ashes or soil, keep the matted hair, wear colored robes, die from fasting, relinquish the worldly activities, do various actions, embrace different sects, search for different scriptures, make out various things, and consequently become the beggar of the street. Merely by holding the pouch containing rosary beads, chanting Harinama, smearing body with ashes or soil, keeping the tuft of hair at the back of the head, shouting the name Gopi Vallabha, bearing the matted hair, reciting loudly Bum Bum, smoking ganja continuously, drinking wine, and rolling on the sand of the holy river of Ganges, chanting Kali Kali, one cannot attain the grace of the lotus feet of Radha Mohana. It must be remembered that God is realized not by dwelling in the forest, but by controlling the mind, not merely by residing in the pilgrimage, but living in the home. Rasa is not found if there is kama. Greed generates regret. Ego eventually results in sin, and sin espouses suffering. Hypocrisy consolidates incompetency. Maya does not allow to forego attachment. Desire does not partake of sadhana. Hope compounds thirst. The desire of glory lands in the hall of Rau Rava. The hope of power and position delinks the thought of Ishta. The sense of self-importance eclipses the grace of Gurudeva. The serious suffering is inevitable if one does not surrender to Gurudeva. To desire for Vancha Kalpataru is futile if one has the least desire for anything else. Ego erodes the dawning of Soham. Hypocrisy spells out futility. Eventually, while undergoing severe punishment from the ruler of justice, one has to merely shed tears and drench his cheek. Hence, if one has desire to be a true human being, he has to demolish ego and attachment for this earthly body. One has to labor honestly on this earth, becoming egoless and tolerant like the earth. Thus, everything will be pure, and this earthly body will also be pure. On a whole, if we cannot be true human beings on the ground by reducing our ego and everything to soil, all sadhana bhajana will be spoiled. The earthly body will be spoiled. and the whole human life will be spoiled. There are some people who say that sadhana bhajana is not possible while living in this world. Why is it? Why one cannot follow the religious life in the world or perform sadhana or follow the path of truth? This world also belongs to God. You give up sama and accept sara from samsara. Instead of dipping in the stream of over-ambition and chasing the insubstantial sam, you adhere to sara and ensure your advent on the earth meaningful. You spread the essence of life in the world and earn delicious credibility. Merely by falling into the clamor of the world and without adding more to it, if you can choose pure path, forsaking impure outcry, you will not have to convert your entire life into helplessness by seeking help from others. As a result, you can enjoy immense bliss and greater essence more than expected by the living in the world of God, who is the essence of all essence. You can get supreme attainment even by living amidst worldly compulsions, accomplishing the mundane duties for the sake of duty, but to cry for God and think of God as it ought to be. There are some people who complain about the shortage of time. They say the whole day is spent for earning money, to fear the family. When we perform sadhana bhajana, when we will perform sadhana bhajana, if the whole day is spent to earn money and accomplish the worldly duties, you can also achieve unexpected results by worshipping Almighty, the eternally pure entity, for 1 hour with being free from any thought and preoccupations. On reducing this 1 hour from your enjoyable sleeping time in every night. There are some people who are not able to think of the divine due to the want of money. If you can get money, you can purchase plenty of rice, pulses, sugar, flattened rice, banana, etc., and celebrate festivals with pomp and grandeur. Sacrifice animals like lamb and buffalo, etc. Entertain people by beating drums. It cannot be performed in the absence of money, but all the articles required for worship belong to Him. Therefore, why do we brag by offering His articles to Him? Bhai, I'll continue kariye. I'm out of pages.
Yeah. Please go ahead. No, we have enough time. So
Sure. Bhai, I page nahi mane. This is the end, the last paragraph. By suffering our minds at the lotus feet of Chidamaya Chintamani, the embodiment of knowledge and supreme entity of thought, with whole heart in all the respects, let us speak with humble and the loving voice like that of His devotees. O Yadupati, the vast sea, the repository of all the gems and the treasure in your residence. Kamala, the presiding deity of all the wealth in your life. You yourself is Purushottama. Bhai, mo pakhare aap pare out kichi material nahi.
भाई सही से रखो
the book. Huh?
भाई सही से रखो
Hello.
Oh, bhai, Jayaguru bhai.
No, what I'm saying is I have still 10 minutes left, since nobody's asking any questions, and I don't know what to do for next 10 minutes. Anybody has the book and read another page maybe? I mean, I have the book, I can do, but
I
Huh?
have the book also.
Yeah,
Page
please
number
go ahead and
128.
maybe read. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. You yourself is Purushottama, supreme God. Hence, what do I have to offer you? I have heard that the daughters of cowherd, beautiful-eyed and supremely loving gopis have stolen your mind. Therefore, you lack mind. I offer you my mind, O Gopi Vallabha. You only yield to love. Kindly accept it. If it is done, all your objections will be solved, are solved. Hence, all such objections are meaningless. I strongly believe that he who runs towards the lotus feet of Premamaya, God, the embodiment of love, with deep yearning, cannot be stopped forcefully by any worldly compulsion. See that the little boy Prahalad, the son of a father antagonistic to Vishnu, continued to sing the glory of God amidst awful situations of being trampled by fearful elephant, thrown into fathomless water, pushed into terrible burning fire, and bitten by deadly poisonous snake. But there are some brutes who have been brought up in religious ambience in the society and have received lots of love and lots of advice, but ironically treat the singing of God's Nama as painful as biting of a scorpion. Buddhadev could renounce grand empire, uncountable wealth, pure and deep affection of old parents, infinite love of the most devoted and beautiful wife, sweet mumbling of the innocent baby son, and eventually embraced sannyasa. However, even if we are tormented by various sorts of unending despair, but we are unable to relinquish the attachment of a dilapidated cottage. Some people visualize the world created by God merely as the manifestation of the facade of words or economic outfit. Some other people also visualize the mysterious sport of Chidamai Mahasakti, the supreme goddess of power and knowledge, in the same world. The poet Coleridge, in his book, has mentioned poetry has given me the habit of wishing to discover the good and beautiful in all that meets and surrounds me. Another learned and famous poet has also said the end of poetry is the elevation of the soul, the improvement and elevation of the moral and spiritual nature of man. What is its reason? It is no exaggeration to suggest that it happens due to difference in perception of the power of the senses. It is but natural that one's chitta runs in the direction of talent and thought power with which one is born with. Hence, by raising various complaints and keeping on nature secret, if one throws dust to the eyes of the public, it will result in complaining against one's own self. There is not iota of doubt in it. There are some so-called full babus who wear full stockings and displaying the airs of scholarship regarding mukti, endorse the scriptural words in their own way and say religious activities will be undertaken when the right age comes. They believe that one should enact the enjoyment of life to fullest extent when there is power and energy. Thereafter, when the indriyas or senses will be weak and cold, one should engage oneself in reciting Harinama in the state of debility. Is there any definite age limit to follow religion? While coming to this mortal world, if one gets the certificate of parental inheritance from the god of death, one can safely rely on the scriptural word Panchasor, Panchasoradhva Vanam Vrajet. One should renounce the household life and go to forest above the age of 50. Since what is written on the page of future moment is not visible to human eye, the hope of living after 50 years of age is simply an inordinate ambition. When indriyas or senses become weak and lose the capacity to perform the minimum worldly pursuit, how can these indriyas hold the infinite power of the infinite? These the sweet fragrance which a fresh flower emits is hardly found with such a stale flower, especially when chitta becomes authoritarian even for once due to uncontrolled and irresistible impact of young age. it almost becomes impossible to bring it again under the control of self. In this connection, I'm narrating a story.
Jai.
Right? Jai.
Yeah, let's stop here. See, actually, following the Bengali book that I have also, there are many intermediate paragraphs. Looks like they combine all of them into a huge paragraph in English. Anyway, so it took a little longer than I had expected. Jayaguru, so quickly we'll go over the some of the things we discussed in Sangha Sevaka this morning. Prarthana Karinga Prati. So basically they're focusing on Abhyasa Yoga. Abhyasa Yoga is the practice of the spiritualism. So there is a thing in Gita, Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyana cha gruhyate. That is what they mentioned here, that practice and detachment. So both are necessary. So even if we practice spiritualism, and if we have attachment towards the worldly pleasure, that's not going to help. And Thakur has already said that. Excuse me. Thakur has said that I want to enjoy the worldly objects, and I want to make spiritual progress. Thakur said these two are impossible, just like the coexistence of day and night. Just like day and night cannot exist together. So the wish to enjoy worldly objects, have worldly enjoyment and make spiritual progress is impossible. So that's what we have to have detachment while making the spiritual practice. Then they're talking about actions for the pleasure of the divine, which Thakur said that please love me a little. So whatever we do, any seva we do, it has to be for the pleasure of Thakur, pleasure of our Gurudev. Seva should not be done, must not be done for our own pleasure. Later on, they have talked about having ego and all these things. They say that quickly. What am I? That feeling is called, okay. If someone sinks into the despair, thinking nothing can be done by me, then that is called disbelief. That means we have to have faith in ourselves. We should be able to achieve things because our Guru has said that yeah, you can do this. So we have to have faith in ourselves, faith in our Gurudev, and then start following his directives. Running out of time, let me stop here. Any questions? I'll try to answer. Two more minutes left. No. Okay. Going back to this the detachment. The two things Thakur has mentioned. One is tyaga and vairagya. So just wanted to focus on that for a minute or so. What's the difference? Tyaga and vairagya. Vairagya, we know that we read that detachment. Tyaga is giving up things. So are they same or are they different? No, definitely they're different. Giving up things is one thing, and having detachment is totally different thing. So we may give up things, but we may still be attached to it. Let me give a quick example. Let us say somebody is eating something. We say, okay, no, that's enough. Don't eat anymore. Okay. If we force that person, he may give up. But that doesn't mean that person has detachment towards that thing. So anybody enjoying something, that person may give up that if he forced or threatened or whatever, right? So sometimes we give up. That means we did tyaga, but we didn't have vairagya. Vairagya is I have no interest in that. I am really detached from that. So vairagya, or detachment is a very high level thing. So tyaga would come first. Vairagya, still we may not have vairagya. We may not have detachment. Well, it's already time anyway. So we'll stop here. We'll start the YA session. I see if you are there, please sing the Prarthana Sangita. Joy.
Jai Guru. O Lord of my life today, you alone are my own, all my faith, O ocean of mercy shown, you are my mother, you are my father, you are my brother, my friend so dear. Bound by your love on every side, no refuge exists for me elsewhere here. O Lord of the world, stay with me always. O seer of hearts dwelling within, you know each secret hidden in me. To whom else shall I open my heart? I forget myself in worldly bonds, lost in habits of birth and decree. When at last I awaken and see the truth of this worldly tale, grant me wisdom, O compassionate one. I fall at your feet, pray. You alone lift me, you alone prevail. At no other door do I bow my head. Morning and evening you I see. My restless mind rests at your feet. My life is blessed in service me. Deep in your love, my soul shall sing. Deep in your love, my soul shall sing. Jayaguru.
Dear young aspirants, this is Bhakti and I will be conducting our YA session for today. I hope you're all doing well. Let's get started with the attendance. Aditi?
Jayaguru Maharaj is coming.
Okay. Jayaguru. Adhibasa?
Jayaguru Maharaj is coming.
Jayaguru Maharaj. Aishi?
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Ani?
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Ansh?
Jayaguru Maharaj, he can't join today.
Jayaguru Maharaj. Anshul? Ji?
Jayaguru Maharaj.
Jayaguru. Aryan? Ashrita? Jamu?
Jayaguru Maharaj, he has to.
Jayaguru Maharaj. Divyam?
Jayaguru Maharaj, Divya Maharaj.
Jayaguru Maharaj. Timmy?
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Jagrat? Nitik?
Jayaguru Maharaj, he is absent today.
Jayaguru Bhai. Nivriti?
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru. Pratyusha? Pratyush? Prayushi?
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru. Sanvi?
Jayaguru Ma.
Jayaguru. Sharanya? Charlov? Sarthak?
Master Suchi Jayaguru.
Jayaguru Ma. Bobby?
Shalom ଡାକିଲେ ବୋଧେ Shalom ଆଜି ମିସ୍ କରିଯିବ ସେ ବସି ପାରିବନି.
Okay, Jayaguru Bhai. Alright, and then Jayaguru Bobby. Shilpi? Shreyasi?
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Jimmy?
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Simran?
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Shrija?
Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Suhani? Yukta? Jayaguru. Is there anyone I missed in our attendance?
Jayaguru.
This is Aryan.
Jayaguru Aryan. And good to have you. Who else was saying Jayaguru?
Jayaguru. Jagrat.
Jayaguru Jagrat. I
Jayaguru,
practiced Friday. Jayaguru Suhani. Good to have you. Anyone else? All right. So before we begin with our Hawaii session, I just wanted to take a moment to come back to today's song. This song expresses a deep realization that ultimately we can only consider Thakura as truly ours in this world, as our guide, our friend, our parents, and the one who knows our hearts completely. But that kind of realization doesn't come so easily to us. It's hard to think. It's one thing to say, but it's one thing to actually realize it. And many times in our lives, people only come to that understanding after a moment of reflection or awakening. And this type of realization, this type of honesty towards ourselves, admitting that we need to change or we need to realize something, it's a hard thing for someone to do. It's one of the hardest things that we can do. And so for today's story, we're going to be talking about someone who went through that type of realization and transformation. So probably growing up, you've heard stories about Lord Rama as the seventh avatar of Lord Vishnu. And there's a festival coming up called Ram Navami, which celebrates his birthday on March 26th this year. And on this day, there's pujas, and a lot of people read stories from Ramayana and reflect on his life. But today we will be talking about the person who composed the story of Rama for the whole world. And this is Valmiki. And what makes this story remarkable is that Valmiki did not begin his life as a sage on the spiritual path. He actually began his life as a bandit, robbing people. And we will see how this transformation happened in the story. I've shared the story by email yesterday, so we can all follow along together. And for today, Sanvi will be reading. So Sanvi can start whenever you're ready.
Jayaguru, the transformation of Valmiki. Long ago, deep in a dense forest, there lived a man named Ratnakara. He was a bandit. He hid among the trees and robbed travelers passing through the forest. Ratnakara convinced himself that what he was doing was acceptable. He had a family to support, his wife, children, and parents. As long as he provided for them, he believed his actions were justified. But one day, that belief would be tested. One afternoon, 7 serene sages walked through the forest. They were known as the Saptarishi, 7 of the most revered sages in the world. Ratnakara stepped out from behind the trees and blocked their path, just as he had done many times before. "Hand over your belongings," he demanded. The sages did not panic or try to escape. They simply looked at him with calm composure. One of them asked, "Why do you do this?" "To support my family," Ratnakara replied confidently. The sages exchanged a brief glance. Then one of them asked a question Ratnakara had never seriously considered before. "If you commit these wrongs for your family's sake, will they also share the consequences with you?" Ratnakara laughed. "Of course they will. We are a family." "Then go home," the sage replied, "and ask them." Ratnakara returned home and stood before his parents, wife, and children. Confident in what their answer would be, he asked them, "If I rob and harm others to provide for you, will you also share the consequences of those sins with me?" To his surprise, they shook their heads one by one. "No," they said, "it is your duty to provide for our family, but how you choose to do that is your decision. The consequences of those actions belong to you alone." Ratnakara felt silent. For the first time in his life, he realized something he had never thought about before. He alone was responsible for the harm he had caused and the sins he had committed by robbing others. Shaken by this realization, he returned to the sages and fell at their feet. "Please," he said, "teach me how to change. Show me how I can free myself from the wrongs I have done." Seeing his sincerity, the sages advised him to sit quietly and meditate on the sacred name of Rama. But Ratnakara had never practiced spiritual discipline before. Even saying the name Rama was impossible for him. So the clever sages gave him a simpler word to repeat instead, Mara. Ratnakara sat beneath the tree and began chanting the word again and again, Mara, Mara, Mara. As he continued repeating it, the sound slowly began to change, Rama, Rama, Rama. Ratnakara sank into deep meditation. He sat so still for so many years that ants built a mound of earth around him. A large anthill eventually formed over his body while he remained lost in deep meditation. Many years later, the sages returned. As they approached, they heard the sound of chanting, Rama, 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 slowly coming from the anthill. Calling out to him, they waited as the man inside slowly stirred. Ratnakara emerged, brushed away the earth, and opened his eyes. The bandit who once lived in the forest was gone. In his place stood a sage, calm and transformed. In Sanskrit, an anthill is called a Valmika. Because he had emerged from the anthill, the sages gave him a new name, Valmiki. Valmiki later composed the Ramayana, the great epic that tells the story of Lord Rama, his wife Sita, and his brother Lakshmana, and the devoted Hanuman. It became one of the most important and influential texts in Hindu tradition. Later in life, when Sita needed a place of refuge, she came to live in Valmiki's hermitage. There she gave birth to two twin sons, Lava and Kusha. Valmiki welcomed them with kindness and raised them with great care. As they grew, he taught them about dharma, courage, compassion, and truth. Most importantly, he taught them to sing the Ramayana, the story he had written about the life of their father Rama. The boys grew into gifted singers and storytellers. Their voices carried the story with beauty and emotion, bringing the events of the Ramayana to life. Years later, during a great gathering in Ayodhya, Lava and Kusha were invited to sing before King Rama himself. Standing before the royal court, they began to recite the Ramayana. Verse by verse, they told the story of Rama's life, his exile, his struggles, his courage, and his devotion to Dharma. As Rama listened, he was deeply moved by the story being sung before him. Slowly, he realized something remarkable. The two young singers were his own sons. The man who had once been a bandit in the forest had become sage Valmiki, the poet who preserved the story of Rama for generations to come. Through his transformation, Valmiki's life itself became a lesson. Even someone who has made mistakes can change, grow, and create something that benefits the world. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru, thank you, Sanvi, for reading this story. So that's the story of a man who went from robbing travelers in a forest to writing one of the greatest epics ever composed. And this is not a small journey. I think it's a really powerful story because Valmiki didn't begin as a saint or scholar. He began as someone who made big mistakes and harmed others, but through reflection, guidance, and spiritual practice, his life was completely transformed. And another thing I thought was interesting was that Ratnakara did not change because someone forced him to. No one really punished him or told him what to do. He looked at his own actions and wanted to change himself, and he reflected on that. So before we dive into the discussion, I wanted to see if anyone had any questions about the story. And if not, let's start with a few basic questions just to warm us up. Praishi, why did Ratnakar's life change after meeting the sages?
Because the sages told him that robbing and stealing isn't good. So then they also told him to go ask his family that if they will take the seed with him, and that his family said no. So then he got upset, and then he asked the sages what to do, and then the sages told him to meditate and say Rama, but he couldn't say Rama, so they told him to say Mara, and then once he was saying it changed to Rama, and then after his meditation, his deep meditation, he did it for years, and then he got calmer, and he got better. Jayaguru?
Jayaguru, yeah, thanks for summarizing the main, like how his life changed. And I think the key point of that is that he listened to the advice of the sages after he asked what to do, and he followed it sincerely. And that's what really changed his life. So let's think about like what did the sages tell Ratnakar to do? So Nivriti, what did the sage tell Ratnakar to do to help him be more peaceful and change his life?
Jayaguru, he said to Jayaguru, I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, so he said to chant the name of Rama and meditate, and then that led to the rest of the story. So going a little bit deeper, there is a lot of different points of the story in Ratnakar's life that seems important. But Suhani, which one do you think is like the main turning point for Ratnakar to change himself and motivate him to do something differently? Suhani? It's not Suhani. Anik, what do you think? What do you think was the main turning point in Ratnakar's life that made him start thinking differently than he was before?
Jayaguru, when Ratnakar asked his family whether they also bore the consequences of his actions, the response that with no was, I think that made him really reconsider about the consequences, and he was able to realize that he bore all the sins of robbing others. Jayaguru,
yeah, I think that was the main turning point. Like, he had this assumption that his family would go along with what he was saying, but when they said no, that really surprised him there. So going back a little bit, the sages, when Ratnakar was trying to rob the sages, they didn't tell him to stop robbing people. Instead, they asked him a question about who is going to shoulder the consequences for his actions. Shrita, why do you think they asked that question instead of just simply telling him to stop being a bandit and robbing people?
Jayaguru, they wanted him to understand why he was doing this and what he will get from doing it, and if he should continue or not. Jayaguru?
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's hear from some others. What do you think about this? Why do you think they asked him this question instead of just telling him to stop?
Jayaguru, I think they preferred asking him the question because they sort of wanted him to come to the realization that what he was doing was wrong, and ultimately he would be the only person to suffer for that, because if they'd only told him that he should stop, then he would have been less inclined to actually do so. But by coming to the realization himself, he's more likely to stop. Jayaguru.
Yeah, that's right. And also, they wanted him to come to that realization, and because I think you've probably seen in your day-to-day lives that if you tell someone to stop doing something without the justification, that's not going that's not usually going to work if someone doesn't understand or believe that what they're doing is wrong. So he had to come to that conclusion himself. And asking that question forced him to think instead of just they asked him to think. Asking that question forced him to think about it instead of just going along with the flow. And that kind of ties into how like there's the role of guru who is guiding people in the right spiritual path, and that's what the sages did here. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is that the sages weren't trying to win an argument with Ratnakar, they were just trying to help him and guide him in a better path. So going to the next point of the story, when he goes to his family and his family says no, that his consequences were his alone, that really affected Ratnakara. Yukta, why do you think that affected him and hit him so hard?
Jayaguru, he thought that because he was supporting his family, that they would shoulder the responsibility of those consequences to support them, but they didn't, Jayaguru.
Yeah, that's right. Let's hear from some others. Aditi, what do you think about that? Why do you think he was so affected by this?
Jayaguru, I think he was so affected by this because like he kind of realized that like what he was doing was wrong and that he needed to like change, otherwise he would continue to suffer the consequences all of his life. Jayaguru.
Yeah, that's right. It forced him to see like what is he actually doing, and I think he was like using his family as a moral shield. Like he was thinking that, oh, I have to take care of my family and my parents and kids and everything. So whatever I do to support that is justified. But their response is saying no to him. That kind of removed that barrier, that assumption that he had. And it seems that Ratnakar believed that they were all together in this path and they would all have the same results, but that wasn't the case because his actions were his own, everyone's actions are their own, and they really showed him that everyone is on their own journey. Sometimes things aren't going to happen together. So going off of like what they were saying, his family said no. Bobby, do you think they were right? The answer was right, or were they too harsh?
Jayaguru, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so when Ratnakar asked his family if they would share the consequences of his actions, they said no. Do you think they were right, or do you think they were being too harsh?
Jayaguru, I think they were right because obviously the family wasn't going out and robbing the travelers, so they wouldn't share those consequences. It would only be the father or the dad who would have the consequences because obviously he was the one who's doing those actions. Jayaguru.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Let's also hear from Aishi. What do you think? Do you think they were right, or do you think they were too harsh?
Jayaguru, I think they were right because it was his fault that he thought that he was doing the right thing, and he thought that by supporting his family, like he could go and like steal stuff by supporting his family, but he has to suffer those actions, like the consequences of his actions, because he's the one that decided to do them. So I think the family was right, because they weren't the ones who were going and doing that. Jayaguru.
Yeah. I think like we've talked about in the past, we've talked about the concept of karma, that like we have our own actions and we reap the results or like the benefits, the pros and cons of our own actions, and no one can really take this from someone else. So I think I also agree with you about like I think they were being pretty honest, and sometimes that can be harsh, but that they were telling the truth that they're not going to shoulder the burden of this. So that leads me to what Ratnakar tried to do to save himself, to repent. And the sages asked him to chant the name Rama, but he wasn't even able to say Rama due to his actions. So they told him to start with the simpler word Mara. So, Aryan, what do you think this tells us about how change happens and how people can change?
Jayaguru, I think the story is like a very good lesson in that like people can change, and that with the right mentorship, in this case, Ratnakara with the gurus, like he received the right mentorship and advice, and through that he was able to like reform his life and have such an important role in being able to compose the Ramayana. And so, like, I think it shows that humans do have an ability to adapt and to change. Jayaguru.
Yeah, it shows that change is there. It's important. It can happen, and it's something that's going to happen. Let's also hear from Sarthak. What do you think this story tells us about change and the fact that Ratnakar wanted to do something and ask the sages about it?
Jayaguru. I was just thinking that I think everybody like wants to be a better person. They just need the motivation to. And after his family said like, no, that the burden's on you and the responsibility is on you, he was like, well, there's no other excuse for me. I should probably do the better thing, especially with the saints guiding him in the right direction. Jayaguru.
Yeah. Both are great answers. I think having that motivation, like even taking a small step, it's still a beginning. And sometimes like that sincerity makes a difference, and it leads into the actual path that someone should be on. And I think it's interesting that the sages didn't just say, oh, you can't chant Rama. That's too bad. Like you can't do anything. But they found a way to adapt the chanting for him so that he could do it and eventually actually chant the name Rama from his mouth. And I think that chanting of Mara becoming Rama is pretty symbolic. Shrija, what do you think that symbolizes? Not Shrija. Let's hear from Shreyasi.
Hey, Grandma, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah. So what does the chanting of Mara becoming Rama symbolize or tell us? What can you learn from that?
Jager, I think that means if you can't do something, you can find a way like around it so you can be chanting it, but not in the way you mean it. Jager.
What do you mean by the way that you mean it?
It means that if you are not able to do something, you find another way to do it while doing, you find another way to do it, but you don't realize that until after. Okay, girl.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, if the easy path isn't there, then it's useful to find something that has a spirit, that same meaning, the spirit, and will get you there as well. So it's important not to give up. And thinking about chanting in general, so Valmiki was chanting for years and years the name Rama, and that completely transformed him. But in our day-to-day lives, why is chanting important? Let's hear first from Jemu.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so why is chanting important and helpful in our day-to-day lives?
It's important because it kind of keeps us grounded in what we're believing and what we're thinking. So, for example, when we're stressed out about a test, or we have even a good moment going on, just making sure that you're not getting too overwhelmed. And then, for example, if you have a good moment going on, making sure you're staying grounded and looking forward to the next good thing you can do.
Yeah, it grounds us. It keeps our mind calm. Let's hear from some others. Divyam, why is chanting helpful in our day-to-day lives?
My Jayaguru, my Divyam, asking you something.
Okay, no problem, Jayaguru. Okay, let's hear from Jagrat. Why is chanting important and helpful? And do you chant every day?
Jaguru. I think chanting is useful in our day-to-day lives because it trains our discipline and in our patience. But I try to chant every day.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad that you're doing that. Let's also hear from Simran. Do you chant every day?
Jayaguru, yes, I chant every day. And it helps me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It helps me become like a better person, and like it gives me like courage, and it helps me know that Thakur is like with me every day. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru, yeah, I feel the same way as well. That like chanting, it keeps our mind focused. Sometimes it gives us something to anchor to. And this is a very accessible and powerful spiritual practice because there aren't many barriers to chanting Namo, chanting Jayaguru every day in our minds or out loud. So that's something that I think we all, if we aren't doing, we should be doing, and if you are doing, that's fantastic. So I just want to think about like the overall takeaways of this story. Jimmy, what are some takeaways you have from the story?
Jayaguru, the takeaways I have in the story is that like everyone can change. Like even if you were once a bandit, an encounter can change your life forever. Jayaguru?
Yeah, I think that's a really great way of putting it. And that encounter was Ratnakar coming in contact with these sages, and they really put him on the right path by asking him the right questions and triggering this inner transformation. And that's why it's important for us to surround ourselves with like-minded people who are going to help us progress on the spiritual path. And there's a term for this called sadhu sangha, where we have the company of spiritual like-minded people, and that helps us grow. Let's also hear from Tanvi. What are some of your takeaways from the story?
Jayaguru, we should keep in mind that we're responsible for our own actions, so we should keep in mind to perform good deeds, because in the end we'll be the ones facing the consequences for those actions, no one else. And then we should also be open for change, and it's never too late to change as long as we receive the right guidance and we're just devoted to whatever we're doing. Jayaguru?
Jayaguru, that's very well said. I think the part of the actions is really important. Like, we have to be careful about what we're doing, because every action has its own effect and consequence. Let's see, who else do we want? Does anyone else want to share what they took away from the story in general?
Jayaguru Ma, this is Prayushi. Like, what's the takeaway is like, meditate. When you like meditate, you can like, as a person, you can change by a lot. Jayaguru.
Yeah, I like that, Prayushi. I think meditation is very important, and that's something that we can all try to do if we aren't. And that will keep our mind focused, calm, peaceful, and in a state where we can progress spiritually. So that's great to hear. So I think there's a lot of things that we can take away from this story. The first thing is something we see very clearly, that good company helps us become good people. Ratnakara had spent his whole life surrounded by a certain way of living, and no one had really challenged his assumptions here. And it took crossing paths with the 7 sages to really trigger this sense of like questioning and motivation in him. And so with that, I think the company we keep shapes us more often than we realize. And with the second point, I think there's another point to the story that we can take away, that there's always going to, like, the importance of Guru, the importance of wise people to show us the right path. And for us, that is Thakura, but in the story, it was the sages, and the sages didn't judge Ratnakar for what he was doing, but they wanted to guide him gently in the right path, and that they really transformed him through it. The other thing I think is really powerful is that being with kind and holy people makes our hearts pure, and that it sets that connection with good things that can help transform us. And his transformation didn't happen when he was all by himself. It happened because he came into contact with them, and he asked his family what they thought, and that these two things really changed him at a very deeper level in who he was. So I think it's really important. It's really important to think about that the people we surround ourselves with really matter, and the guidance we seek matters. And I was reminded of a song that we sometimes sing as a prayer, and it's called Sadhu Sangha Mate Diya, Hechira Mangalamaya, and that is, we are praying to Thakura for this good company, this good association with like-minded, saintly people. So with that, I will conclude our wise session here, and next up is Bhavavinoya Vai Sarthak. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Recently, in the past year, since my last Abhinamaya, I spend most of my time at school and in lab, and if there's one thing that it's taught me, it's all of the discipline and focus. I try to see this as like offering my effort towards Thakura, and reminding myself to work as sincerely as possible without like attaching myself to the outcomes from it. With that, there's also a lot of difficult periods with uncertainty and stress, not just in academics, but in my personal life, that always seem to remind me that I am not in control of everything, despite me wanting to be in control of everything. Turning to just chanting Thakura's name and prayer and remembering him helps me stay calm and accept that my path is not just shaped by me, but by him as well. Recently in my life, I continue to be working with and volunteering with people from underprivileged backgrounds, which is very helpful, because I've noticed that interacting with these people has deepened my sense of gratitude towards my current situation, even though there are struggles. There are people that have worse struggles, and I'm grateful to be in the position I am. And this also helps me, motivates me to be more compassionate towards people. Not that I'm not compassionate, but like more compassionate, and help others where I can, and just improve myself. And one of my New Year's resolutions this year was to make a conscious effort to connect with people that I normally wouldn't, and step outside my comfort zone, and that has helped me grow emotionally and spiritually. I see the openness and sincerity in relationships that I wouldn't have normally cultivated as ways that I can serve Thakura through understanding and kindness. And then I feel like while I'm continuing to like work towards this like one goal, and succeed towards that goal, I've learned to like surrender some of the results, and I've learned to trust in Thakura's plan with me. And I think the balance between like me striving myself and then like faith in Thakura helps me stay grounded in that path. I know a lot of our paths are very difficult, so it's hard to stay on the path if you're not also partially surrendering yourself to Thakura. And I think that has helped me with my progress in spiritual growth. I think every day in moments of daily difficulty, I try to remember Thakura and remain thankful and use all these experiences I've learned as an opportunity to become a better person. For me, living means improving myself while contributing positively to other people's lives. And I think that's like the best way to serve Thakura, for me at least. Jayaguru, thank you.
Thakura, ସମସ୍ତ ଭକ୍ତଗଣ ବହୁତ ଦିନ ପରେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ସେବାର ସୁଯୋଗ ମିଳିଛି, ସେଇଟା ବହୁତ ଭଲ ଲାଗୁଛି। ତାପରେ actually ଆଜି ଯଦି if you notice for the last few days or few weeks, it's like even for a month, like if you notice, it's like the world is completely restless. There are a lot of things that's happening that's basically not suitable, and and there is like little bit like everywhere there is something sad, something like that's not making sense. And in those period, I feel like knowing Thakura is a blessing, because sometime I think even Sarthava does, right? So it's like you need to surrender. You need to tell that, hey, this is out of me. I probably cannot do beyond this, and the only thing I can do is probably just let you know, right? And that probably helps a lot to bring that inner peace in you, right? Same reflection goes to like if you do day-to-day work, right? Like, and I'm pretty sure every one of us who are working here are like super super busy and like really occupied with a lot of day-to-day things. What happens is like I personally notice that like if I don't tell Thakura what's happening and kind of think it is like mine, and I will take care of it, it drags, it keeps dragging, and then the one thread becomes multiple threads and things like that. But then the moment it is told Thakura, I probably this is the problem, this is where I am lost, and I feel like it's gone, and then immediately those threads are closed, right? So I think there is definitely a subconscious help from Thakura always, even though I realize my connection with Thakura is a little bit like much lesser than maybe many of you here, but still like it really helps. So that is one part, right, where I pray every day, like, hey, can I at least give me that thought that where, right, tell Thakura what's happening, tell Thakura like what's going wrong and how to fix it. At times, it is also negative thinking, like you also think like, oh, this is not good for me, so I will tell Thakura. But ideally, like, where do we cut that boundary, right? To where to tell Thakura versus what to not? That's another thing to learn here. In general, last year was a good year because after a long time, I could see, went to the ashram for a evening, and it was pretty really pleasant and really good to uh, see Thakura in his home kind of here in US. So I think my one thought I have is like from this year onwards, I'll try to go once at least if possible, and mostly I'll force it kind of. Let's see when that happens, but because that brings the connection back, and that brings to like we can meet a lot of bhais and mas also, so that gives like some more connection there. So instead of like staying completely detached sometimes. So with that, Jayaguru, pray for you all your blessings.
Jayaguru bhai, any advice of Thakura, any directive Thakura you are practicing?
I'm trying to practice basically to surrender, but then it's not happening in general. Like it's like
That's
it
a hard one.
always go
That's
to
a hard
the.
one. Yeah. What I'm saying is that that's not easy. So, but yeah.
Right. It's like only when it goes to the case where you feel like you cannot do it, like that's the only time. But it's probably doing it daily, doing it regularly is like the key thing that I'm trying to practice.
Exactly. Yeah. Jayaguru. Anjanama.
Jayaguru. My dear Shree Shree Thakur Maharaj, Bhakta Bhai, Ma and young aspirants, by the infinite blessings of Thakur, today I have the opportunity of Seva Puja Pali. In my Bhava Vinimaya, I would like to share a few thoughts about how much I am able to follow Thakur's Bani and the teaching that he has given us. Every new year I make many promises to myself. I think that this year I will improve and follow the path shown by Thakur more sincerely. I begin with great enthusiasm and determination. But after a few days, somehow I again return to my old habits. This year I made promise to myself that I would try to reduce gossiping. Earlier I used to spend many hours talking with my friends. I realized that if I spoke less, it would help me control unnecessary gossip. So nowadays I am trying to control myself and speak much less. Instead, I try to spend my time reading religious books, listening to spiritual discussion, and doing more productive things. I am also trying to take Thakur's name while doing my daily activities. I know that I am the most honored Shishya of Shree Shree Thakur Maharaj. Still, I always pray to him with these words: Thakur, तुम्हारी पूजार गुरु भारा मते देई अथ दया बही रही पासे मोर दियो हे बताई कथा काहे न हुड़ाई. In every situation in my life, I seek Thakur's blessings. I trust him more than anything else, and I firmly believe that whatever Thakur does for us is always for our ultimate good. Thakur always does what is best for us. My mind is to remain devoted at his lotus feet. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru, I invite Thakur for Madhyana Bhoga and then subsequently invite all Bhai and Mas to have prasad for the lunch time, and then I also invite Thakur for the evening puja that is to be conducted today at his home.
Jayaguru, I invite Shree Shree Thakur, Bhakta Bhais, Mas and young aspirants for the next Y session to be held on March 22nd, 2026. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru. Shreyans, Prabir Bhai, I have Sangha Puja Pali for the next Sangha Puja session. We are inviting Sri Thakur Maharaj, Bhais, Mas and young aspirants to our next session to be held on Sunday, March 22nd. Arati Seva will start at 7:30 am Eastern Time. Please join the puja and give us opportunity to perform our sevas. On Saturday, March 21st evening at 6:30 p.m., we are going to have North Carolina Saraswati Patchakar Puja, which will be in the same Adhibasa time. It will be at NSM starting at 6:30 p.m. We have also Pali Seva on that day. We are inviting Sri Thakur Maharaj, Bhais, Mas and young aspirants to join the Patchakar Puja session and give us opportunity to perform our seva. Jayaguru.
Jayaguru Pranam. ସମସ୍ତ ପାଳିଆ ଭାଇ ମାଙ୍କ ତରଫରୁ ଆଜି ଯଦି ପୂଜାରେ କିଛି ବି ତ୍ରୁଟି ବିଚ୍ୟୁତି ହେଇଯାଇଛି ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ କ୍ଷମା ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା, ଆଉ ସେଇଗୁଡ଼ାକ ଯେମିତି ନ ହବ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ପ୍ରେରଣା ଆଉ ଆଟଲିଷ୍ଟ ଗାଇଡେନ୍ସ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଖରୁ. ଜୟଗୁରୁ.
Jayaguru. Dayamaya Sri Charani
ରହିବ ଇତର କାମନା ଏହା ଛଡ଼ା ନ ରହିବ ଇତର କାମନା ଏହି ମାତ୍ର ଭିକ୍ଷା ମୋର ଏତିକି ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା ଏହି ମାତ୍ର ଭିକ୍ଷା ମୋର ଏତିକି ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା ତୁମେ ପ୍ରଭୁ ମୁହିଁ ଦାସ ଏହି ଅହଙ୍କାର ତୁମେ ପ୍ରଭୁ ମୁହିଁ ଦାସ ଏହି ଅହଙ୍କାର ଏକମାତ୍ର ଜୀବ ପ୍ରବଳ ସଂସ୍କାର ଏକମାତ୍ର ଜୀବ ପ୍ରବଳ ସଂସ୍କାର ଏଥିଲାଗି ଯେବେ କାଳେ ନ ମିଳେ ମୁକ୍ତି ଏଥିଲାଗି ଯେବେ କାଳେ ନ ମିଳେ ମୁକ୍ତି ତଥାପି ରଖିବି ମନେ ଅନନ୍ତ ଦ୍ରୁପତି ତଥାପି ରଖିବି ମନେ ଦ୍ରୁପତି ତୁମରି ଦୃଷ୍ଟି ଭିତରେ ତୁମରି ଜଗତେ ତୁମରି ଦୃଷ୍ଟି ଭିତରେ ତୁମରି ଜଗତେ ପଡ଼ିଥିବି ଜହି ତହି ତୁମରି ଇଙ୍ଗିତେ ଦେବ ପଡ଼ିଥିବି ଜହି ତହି ତୁମରି ଇଙ୍ଗିତେ ধ্বংস পরে রচনার অভিনব রূপ ধ্বংস পরে রচনার অভিনব রূপ দেখি দেখি আসি জীব অসল স্বরূপ দেখি দেখি আসি জীব অসল স্বরূপ মিলাই ন পারে যেবে তব চন্দ্রেশ্বর মিলাই ন পারে যেবে তব চন্দ্রেশ্বর তব নামে বাই জীবে ভঙ্গা বিনা পুর দেব তব নামে বাই জীবে ভঙ্গা বিনা মোর শুণু বা ন শুণু কেহি থিব অহংকার শুণু বা ন শুণু কেহি থিব অহংকার তুমি প্রভু মোহি দাস এতিকি সংস্কার তুমি প্রভু মোহি দাস এতিকি সংস্কার প্রেমময় শ্রী চরণে করে নিবেদন প্রেমময় শ্রী চরণে করে নিবেদন প্রেমময় শ্রী চরণে করে নিবেদন তুম জয় গাউথিবি সারা জীবন দেব তুম জয় গাউথিবি সারা জীবন জয় গুরু জয় গুরু জয় গুরু জয় 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 জয় গুরু জয় Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, 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 Jai Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Jai Guru, 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 Jai, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai Guru, 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 Jai Guru, Jai Guru. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai.